Hello there, my best friend. It's me, Isaac Newton. Now, you might not know it, but my ideas, well, they're all around you. You see them every single day, even when you don't realize it.
Just look up. When you see a satellite zipping across the night sky, that's my work in action. Yep, I'm the one who figured out the invisible rules that keep it from just falling back to Earth. Have you ever thought about that? What keeps things from floating away into space? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to tell you about. And how about a rainbow after it rains? So beautiful, right? But it's not just magic. I discovered that the secret to all those amazing colors is hiding inside a simple beam of sunlight. It's an incredible secret, and I just can't wait to share it with you. My whole life has been about asking questions. Honestly, it's the best way to learn anything. So come on, let's go back in time and I'll tell you my story. You'll see, it all started when I was just a curious kid, a lot like you. All right, let's begin. Our story starts a long, long time ago, way back in the 1600s in England. Now, I have to admit, my life didn't have the easiest start, but it was my curiosity that always kept me going. You see, my father, he died before I was even born. And when I was just 3 years old, my mother got married again and moved away. She left me with my grandmother. So, yeah, I often felt pretty lonely. To top it off, later on, my mother decided I should be a farmer. A farmer? Oh, I just couldn't stand it. My head was always stuck in a book, not watching sheep. But you know what? I didn't just sit around feeling sad. No way. I used my hands and my brain. I absolutely loved figuring out how things worked. I spent hours building these amazing models, tiny little windmills that actually turned in the wind, water clocks that would drip, drip, drip to tell the time, and sundials that used shadows to mark the hours. I was always thinking, always designing something new. This is something I wrote in one of my notebooks back then. What it means is that, sure, I respected all the smart people from the past, but what really mattered to me was figuring things out for myself. I wanted to know how the world really worked. For me, finding the truth was the greatest adventure of all. So, a few years passed, and then something pretty scary happened. A terrible sickness, the plague, spread all across England. My university had to close down, so I went back to my childhood home to stay safe. And that's when things started to get really interesting. But here's a little secret about challenges. Sometimes they're really opportunities. I couldn't go to my classes, so I decided to make the whole world my classroom. Those 2 years I spent stuck at home, they turned out to be the most creative, most amazing time of my entire life. I call it my miracle year. I remember it so clearly. One day, I was just sitting in the garden, and I saw an apple fall from a tree. It seems like such a simple thing, doesn't it? But it sparked this huge question in my mind. I started wondering about that invisible power, that pull that brought the apple straight down to the ground. I decided to give it a name, gravity. And this is where my imagination just took off. I looked at that apple on the ground, and then I looked all the way up at the moon in the sky, and I thought, wait a minute. Could the force that pulls this little apple be the exact same force that holds the gigantic moon in the sky, stopping it from flying away? What if it was the same force? During that same quiet time at home, I got curious about light. So I made my room completely dark, except for one tiny little beam of sunlight peeking through. Then I took a glass prism and put it right in the path of the light. And you won't believe what happened. Bam! A rainbow shot out the other side. That's when I realized that plain old white light isn't plain at all. It's actually made of every color you can imagine, all mixed together. The more I studied, the more I noticed something just incredible. From the smallest apple to the biggest planets, everything in the whole universe follows the same basic set of rules. It was amazing. So I wrote them down and I called them the laws of motion. Okay, so here they are, the 3 big rules. And they're actually super simple. First, inertia. That just means things are kind of lazy. A soccer ball will just sit there forever until you kick it, right? Second, force. This one's easy. The harder you kick the ball, the faster it goes. Makes perfect sense. And third, action and reaction. For every push, there's an equal pushback. Think about a rocket. It pushes hot gas down really, really hard, and that's what makes it blast up into the sky. It's that simple. Now, I was a bit of a shy person, believe it or not.
I kept all of these incredible discoveries scribbled in my private notebooks for years and years. But my dear friend, Edmund Halley, he told me something important. He said these ideas weren't just for me. He said I had to share them with everyone. And you know what? He was right. It's so important to share what you learn.
Figuring out the rules of the universe was exciting, for sure, but I also wanted to use my brain to help people with their everyday problems. So later in my life, I took on a totally different kind of challenge. I moved to London to work at the Royal Mint. That's the place where they made all of England's coins. It was a chance to use science to fix a real-world problem.
My new job was Master of the Mint. It sounds fancy, and it was a very big deal because at that time, England had a huge problem with its money. The problem was crime. There were crooks making fake coins, and other people were clipping off the edges of the real silver coins to steal the metal. Can you imagine? About 1 out of every 5 coins floating around was bad. It was a mess. Nobody could trust their own money, and it was hurting the entire country. So I kind of became a detective. I used the same careful thinking I used for science. I studied how the coins were made, I did the math to make it better, and I even helped design new coins with little ridges on the edge. You've probably seen those, to make them much harder to clip or fake. It was a lot of hard work, but we did it. We made everyone's money safe and trustworthy again. And so that's a little piece of my story. But you know, the most important part of this whole thing isn't really about me at all. It's about you and the beginning of your story. You see, all my big discoveries, they didn't happen because I was the smartest person in the world. They happened because I stayed curious when I saw an apple fall. They happened because I kept busy building things when I felt lonely. And they happened because I used my imagination when I saw a simple beam of light. These are things anyone can do. You can do them. This world is still packed with wonderful questions and amazing secrets, just sitting there waiting for someone to find them. So, my best friend, what questions will you ask? What are you going to build? What amazing thing will you discover today? Your adventure is just getting started, and I'll be cheering for you every single step of the way.